You're
Does everybody have a?
distributed?
So,
There is a candy kind
just,
Okay.
we're down a few,
Yeah.
we had a few sick calls at the last minute, so we're down,
That was new.
we're down 4 board members and a couple of liaisons.
Yeah, we've got a few people.
But it still looks like a full room, so thank you all for coming.
So, well, why don't we officially start, like to call the meeting to order Thursday, February 13th, meeting of the Council on Aging Board of Directors. We will go round of introductions. There are a couple of new people sitting here at the table. I'll let them introduce themselves. We'll maybe come back around to introduce them again, but I'm J.D. Miller, Chairman of the Board.
Linda Hayes, Council on Aging Director. Lucille Saracino, Board Member.
Alternate.
Caitlin Coyle, board member. Janice LeBlanc, board member.
Elaine Shimbari, liaison for the Friends of Scituate Seniors.
Herb McFadden. Leslie James, board member.
Kathy Claxton, transportation coordinator.
Welcome, everyone. Yes, so we were just talking, before we officially start, we have a couple of people who are sick, a couple of people who are out of town, so we are a little bit.
We have a quota,
Yeah, but
promise.
we've got at least know Karen Canfield is sick and at home, and Maud is sick at home, so we've got a couple of people who are a little bit under the weather today. So anyways, first things first, let's take a look at our meeting minutes. I think most of you may have gotten this a day or so early.
Well, I sent them yesterday.
Yeah.
I did hear from Maud after that with a new copy. She said she'd made a couple of corrections per your maybe input. So I printed.
Very minor.
Well, this hard copy has those, except I don't know what they are. So if you do, and she's not here now, so.
I mean, I
so
think, for example,
there's-
one of the corrections was simply like, maybe Janice
Oh.
was stated as being here last month and you weren't here.
And I'm
vice
not,
versa.
I'm not in. I'm not asking.
You're not
No,
asking.
I'm not here.
Now you're just
I
not,
can't remember.
Yeah.
you went from falsely being here to not.
Yeah, I have to go back and figure it out.
I was not here last month, you were not,
No,
but it's here. Listen, I was here. I mean, I did send something for you to, hopefully that's where my report came from.
Oh, I see, yes, all right, she has it. Well, she's new, of course, and.
Right, no,
and-
totally,
I
totally.
mean,
Yep.
we told her who was here.
so then we'll take a quick look at minutes. And if anyone needs candies, just raise your hand.
And they all have them. Oh,
Another correction.
anybody need
on-
water? I meant to put this.
Another correction on FOSS minutes
Okay.
or items. It says one position is opening at FOSS.
Yes.
There's two. The president and the vice president are stepping down as of the summer, fall.
Okay.
President and.
Yeah, I didn't want to correct that myself. I
Yeah.
don't think that was accurate, but, where is the,
It's on page 4.
thank you, 2 positions. What do you call them?
President
and-
and vice president.
See who we get on the ticket? We have anybody on the ticket?
Would you like to go?
Okay.
I don't think you can, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for that correction.
So was everybody able to open them the way I sent them? Otherwise, I would have had to save it as a PDF. So. And would you like that practice to continue? Can you manage
Yeah,
Yeah, that was great.
it is, yeah.
it? Even the one day? Even one day?
Whatever you get.
Except
Yeah.
Okay.
the director's report that came out as an addendum for today's meeting was last month's director's report. The director's report that you got here for February 13th, I think you meant to send that out with the outreach, and what I got was the January 9th director's report.
Is that right? Then everybody would have, I only sent one.
Could have been just me.
It would said this, somebody appeared on June 21st.
That's this meeting right now, but
All right, I'll double check that, but we'll, all right.
just,
We'll see if anything sounds familiar. Dave, would you read it? Okay.
I glanced at it.
I don't know,
Yeah, I wasn't in the right.
huh?
it's just a date thing.
No, it was the content.
All right, Elaine,
I was going to the after meetings and then the person taking over it after, that's what I got, I just
I could look on my
could read my
phone.
computer.
No,
No.
nope, it was even me. I'll double check. Well, all right. I'll catch you up. I'll catch you up then.
Well, does anyone
But I
have,
didn't get this.
besides Elaine's notation of
Well,
two positions?
And Janice was.
Yeah.
It was in the absence.
Thank you.
Ellen
I
and I.
didn't feel crazy.
So do I hear
I am crazy, but that's.
motion to accept the minutes with those two edits, those two exceptions? Absence, those who were absent, and two positions in funds.
We will make the corrections and post it on the website.
Okay. Do I hear a motion for that?
I make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for January 9th as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Very good, thank you. So, okay, and before I hand it over to Linda, I just want to come back around here a little bit. We are sort of both nominating and recommending two new members tonight. Pat Carlton over to my left and Barbara McFadden to my right, who are being nominated as associate members of this board. Per our bylaws that were changed, or that we changed, or our rules and regulations, I shouldn't use the word bylaws, our rules and regulations that were changed, that we changed, I think, back in September or October, that still needed then to go to the town administrator or the town meeting, I beg your pardon, should be approved. We are trying to build in some continuity and ease succession and transitions. And we also want to take advantage of people who want to participate and want to get involved. So both Pat and Barbara have stepped forward in that manner. You're the only thing that you are unable to do is if we were to have a board vote, you do not vote. You are, however, as a member, you are considered as, we are all, a municipal employee of the town of Scituate, so we do still need to have you, and we can get that information to you, we still need to have you, and we'll have to get the information to them, but to be sworn in at the town clerk's office, and also there are some documents that you need to submit in terms of things like sexual harassment in the workplace and things along those lines. As a municipal employee of the town of Scituate, we're all required to do that, so you will be required to do that. And I believe then really, as a matter of sign-off, simply, we will also then extend and submit to the Board of Selectmen your nomination and recommendations to join our board, which I'm kind of surreptitiously still doing now anyways, and have the Board of Selectmen give us a yay at some future meeting. But, so welcome.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to working with you and your input. We do still need to do some things, as I just mentioned, behind the scenes as background with the town to sort of get you officially registered. But welcome. I could probably give a quick bio of both Pat and Barbara, but maybe can we do a 30-second? Can I put you on the spot to give us a very brief background?
I've been a Scituate resident for over 30 years. I'm recently retired as, still going to be a social worker, and I've had a lot of experience on working with elder services on the South Shore. And then in the last 12 years I've worked in a hospital, and I have a lot of suggestions for the building for people that have hearing loss and vision loss, and carpets and stuff for people that have dementia. I worked at an SIU.
Very good.
Great.
Okay.
Okay,
Barb?
so I grew up in Virginia, spent 36 years in West Virginia. I worked on behalf of adolescents my whole career pretty much. And I moved here 10 years ago because my son was up here with 3 children. And I love Scituate. I'm so happy to be here. I never thought life could be this good. I really didn't even, you know how you dream. I just never imagined it could be so wonderful. I love the people here, and I love the scenery. It's just been fantastic. So, and I attend a lot of things at the center. So, I've connected with a lot of people over the last 5 years or so.
Very good. Well, welcome again. We look forward to your participation and your input and working with you. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Linda for her report.
Get used to listening to you. All right, well, hoping that you may have had a chance to see my report initially, but I'll still try to touch on all of the things I included. So I still included because Kathy Clarkson is here, transportation coordinator, who we've met, of course, before, just to discuss a little bit about what's been going on with our out-of-town medical rides through Social Community Action Council. So I had said I'd invite her to the next meeting and just give us both a chance to acquaint you or inform you with what we're kind of grappling with at the moment. But there have been significant increases there. I did get a call, nicely enough, from St. Mary's Deacon Matty Henry. So they have a new men's group that they wanted to try to enlist or connect with local needs. And he was very interested in having us be that contact for their group. Gave him some ideas of what we generally might get calls for, which are small jobs, maybe small repair works on homes, but also even just replacing air conditioners or taking them out and putting them back in 3 months later. So they were very willing. We do also have another group, another men's group, it so happens, from the Union Church First Parish, who has been a contact for us and has helped the last couple of years as well through Howard Matthews. So anyway, that's good, the more the merrier.
Yeah.
I just thought we should.
I mean, those are always needs, and we never have been able to sort of.
Frankly, the other needs we often can't meet.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
and snow shoveling, you would think, but it's not that easy even to get the kids who might be available or willing to do it, just to find them. So that is a need that we have, and the air conditioners we get calls all the time. I have been using and sending out the constant contact emails, not as often. I mean, I originally thought weekly, and I didn't want to overdo it either, and then maybe every other week. A couple of times it's only been once a month. So we've had the 6-month subscription since September, and I've sent out 9. But I think they've been useful for those who've seen them. And it has given some people a reason to give us their emails, which of course we wanted. So on January.
Still want, and we still want.
And we do still want, yes, so emails are good. Accurate emails would be better. So we went before, I guess I went before the Board of Selectmen on January 21st to request they accept a sizable donation that was made to us, and we were able to take, because it was a little bit more they wanted it used for social services potentially, and they saw transportation as a need coincidentally. And here we were having these major increases, and also we've got a van that has seen better days, and we are maintaining a bit more than we want to have to, and paying out of our budget for that as well. So, so we were able to accept that $20,000, which was significant, very nice from the estate of Marie Gillis. And Maura McMahon had known her and worked with her or cared for her, so that's how it somewhat came to us. So, and there may be more, she said, but it's been improving. If anybody knew her, but I was told she didn't really know too many people and really wondered what she could do with that money. So, I'm happy about that. There was a Council on Aging report, the annual report that the town sends out, so I just every year have to do that report, and I just completed that. We've had a transportation client, and I mention this because they're unhappy with changes that were imposed on us somewhat through Social Community Action Council, and so transportation that she's been receiving for 7 years, twice a week, to and from Weymouth, at a very early hour, at a fairly low cost, which we'll explain as compared to what we would be paying now, up to 5 a.m. instead of the 6 a.m. So we could no longer take her before 6 a.m. And she does dialysis at 6. But, they were willing to bend a little bit, but not enough, so that she's decided to have her husband take her in the morning, and then we bring her home. But again, the reason I'm telling you this is because she is unhappy, and she has written a couple of letters to me, and I have spoken to her on the phone. This is Kathy, and she's called Social Community Action directly. She thinks she's getting differing information, but she's not. We're all telling her really the same thing, but she is suggesting she's going to write to the Council on Aging Board with her complaint. So just wanted you to be aware of it. I have a letter. Anybody wants to see that, I can show you. I haven't sent it to her yet. But, we're trying to work with her and to continue the rides that she does need, but we can only do what we can do.
Yep.
Anyway, and we've been doing a lot, as it turns out, at a very low cost to all of the residents of Scituate. We've really made no distinction. It's not been an intake. It's not been based on need. It's just been an opportunity that we could afford. And we may not be able to continue in that vein because of the expense, unless we can pass off more of the expense to the clients, which of course then it might involve some sort of assessment of financial need. We were given through MCOA, again, sort of grant-funded opportunity to establish or develop a website, which we haven't had our own. We've used the town website and a page on the town website, so we've been working to build that with a little help from them. So it's sort of slow going, because it's myself, Jill, Susan Kelly, who's on the board now, and she's volunteered to do some of the marketing and communication for us. But it is still a lot to learn, so we do have it started, but not done yet. But the other reason I mention that is because, of course, we need to come up with our own URL, our own sort of domain. And of course, Scituate Senior Center is taken by Rhode Island. They've taken everything. I found that with the Facebook name.
There's a Scituate right up Rhode Island.
Interesting. So, yeah, they've got it all. They've got it all. Not just one. So anyway, that sort of leaves us with trying to be even more creative, and I don't really like using CTR. I'd probably rather go to COA. So even though we've been sort of transitioning a little bit more to senior center as opposed to council on aging, I think this, yeah, I was going to ask your opinion, so I.
It's easy to remember.
It is a little easier to remember and type. And I'm told anyway, even if someone were to Google Scituate Senior Center, they would still find us because that text would exist on the page. So everybody sort of agreeing to me, unless you come up with something else creative, but that's it. So hopefully maybe by next meeting we'll have it online. And then I thought I'd mention, our Aging Mastery program is set to begin again in March. That's the 10-week program. And Rotary had graciously offered to put in a foundation grant for us, and so we're receiving some money from them, which is very nice. We did unexpectedly also get some money for materials through MCOA. They didn't know they had that money, they had some extra SIG money, they call it, and they offer it for anyone who needed it. But we can still use it. We put on a breakfast for 10 weeks, so in addition to materials. And then we do a reward at the end for people who complete it. And, you know, we sort of do a graduation lunch or something, so there's plenty of need there. Continue with the Tai Chi, but I've been investigating trying to add a Tai Chi because I think the people who do it want more, and I think there's more people who want to do it that maybe aren't getting what they perceive they might like through the program that I do, which is only the very packaged 24 weeks. We rotate through it. It's only 8 forms, but so I went and checked out the instructor for the recreation department one night, and he was great. It was interesting, and there were older adults there in the evening class that they run now up at the A-Wing. But then I also had been hearing from him, and I went to one of his classes in Kingston. I really liked him, actually. Older guy, he's won awards. He's like the Jack LaLanne of Tai Chi, I think. So I'm hoping I can get him done, and I think that will supplement for a lot of people. They would get actual from a master. If they wanted to take advantage of that, they could do both, or they could do just that. The only issue has been that he needs to get paid, and so it needs to be people who are willing to do that weekly to make it worth his time and travel. So hopefully that works out. I'm going to try to add that or at least something in March and April. And also Lisa's been pursuing someone who would come in and do Zumba, which we've had trouble with because we haven't had the right surface or the right location for it. But they have an idea for that. They can't do it till May anyway. It could be that maybe we can get some other space. We've been talking about at a couple of other locations. Because people have been asking for dance, line dance, Zumba. And we just have lacked the floor, if not time in the schedule, but still, we're going to try to add it even before next year. And actually, well, I just finished the 4-week memory training, which again, we've been trying to do fairly continuously, but Janice Desmond is volunteering for the next one, and again, that's been a really hard time slot to find. So we haven't set it yet, but it's been Thursdays, but now we have to turn that over to Aging Mastery, and that was gonna be Mondays, but then we have to do Matter of Balance, because we try to do those annually, so we may have to skip it for a couple of months, we'll see. But those are the challenges that we've been faced with. A really successful program last month, some of you may have attended, but Andrea Miller from Marshfield, who came and talked about the Army's 10th Mountain Division, the skiing soldiers, we showed 2 films, 2 different weeks, it was fabulous. So I do have an idea I'm going to bring to the Friends, but and she's willing to do a fundraiser showing those films, maybe partnering with the schools who I think would love it. Both the Warren Miller film, because it's a little trending for the young people who do ski, or, you know, it's very well done, and all his films are. And then also just the historical part of it. So she would do that in the fall for us at the Performing Arts Center. Strictly, you know, fundraiser, but. We're continuing the Super Tuesday Soup and Sandwich once a month through April at least. Valentine's party tomorrow, which is being sponsored, and they're doing the cooking from Jack Conway. So that's very nice. We do also, and they've been doing some good publicity, as we have tried to as well. So the Veterans Advisory Council, I think I mentioned last time, wanted to do something, and we wanted to do something with them. So we're having a breakfast. It's a bit of an informational breakfast for veterans. It's free of charge for them. And all the VAC members will be here, and hoping not only to tell them about what they hope to be able to do for them, but also hear from any veterans who might just want to help guide their efforts and give them some ideas on how to connect and what to offer, what to provide, speaker-wise, information-wise. And of course, they assist Dawn Knapp, who is the veterans agent for the town. So Dawn Knapp,
Oh, okay.
Veterans Advisory,
Yeah,
he's the
he's
veterans
veterans.
agent for the
Sure.
town.
Joe's on the advisory council.
So he's
John's
spearheading
our-
us as well. He's part
John's
of
our
it.
So
town.
is he just a
CSO.
Scituate thing, or is that a regional?
Well, that's the Veterans Advisory Council here.
Here, in Scituate.
You said
It's a town thing.
I think it was
Okay, so
kind
it's like a
of,
board.
I think it was kind of, I didn't know.
It's been off and on.
It's been off and on, yeah.
Um,
And they're looking forward to it. We heard about it. We have to know about it, so.
So I am, or we are planning to participate in the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I need a team.
Are you
So.
looking at me?
I
Well,
am
you have
now.
green on.
You're wearing my color.
That's right.
I'm ready, I'm ready.
So, I believe
Just don't
we
have your
do.
green hair on, right?
I'll get that look, don't worry about it.
We do have the Brown Brothers. I don't know if we'll have a slightly different theme or if we'll do the same thing. We could either. I actually have not asked for the size truck we had before yet. We could have a smaller truck and then we just might have to adjust what we have used on top. Because we do like the Brown Brothers, they're very good. But I know, you talk a bit again when Foss presents, but anyway, so we're going to do it, it's March 15th, they're still having it, they do have to set up, just for your information, just because where they used to set up around in front of Gate School is unavailable.
Oh.
Basically, he's figured out they're gonna have to go further down Cudworth and start further down First Parish before it even kicks off. So that's how they're going to set up Central, Cudworth, and down First Parish, you know, as much as they need to. So that's the answer. It's fine. Anyway, I guess we'll have to talk about, and I'll let people know what we're doing or when we're meeting or when we need help. We are also planning the dinner and game night with the high school students from the Interact Club, but also I was thinking maybe we could even open it up and let the guidance department know that we're doing it. Any kids who might want a couple of hours of community service could join us, and we might need to do that. Just not sure what the numbers are, but of course, you know, we need older people to come and enjoy it as well. So, the senior center project, I have been, as JD and I have both been going to weekly meetings, construction meetings, since the beginning of January. January 3rd was the official signing of the contract, but the real work didn't start until January 21st, so there was just a little bit of a 2-week lapse. That's been discussed in terms of the other end, you know, when it's supposed to wrap up in 365 days, if there's any latitude there, which it's all agreed. But that has been happening. The fencing is all up, as you know. The abatement has been going on and is actually set to complete
Pretty much
today.
tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today or tomorrow.
So that's
So
a
it's the
little ahead of the
interior-
game.
Interior abatement of the ceiling.
So basically, next week, then they'd be moving outside and beginning the tear down. So that's a little bit ahead of what became the sort of delayed schedule, but now they're working fairly well. It's the weather, I guess. It's been good for them. So that's good news. The back entrance to recreation is set to be the first modification on their end, on their building. So if you ever go there around the tennis courts, you can't get in that back door anymore for now. So they've created another entrance, which has always been there. It's just a back entrance to the A wing that juts out, so beyond the tennis courts. You go up some steps, so that's not handicapped accessible. They are putting up a ramp where there is a handicapped space in front of the tennis courts, and that would be the handicapped entrance for those that needed it. And then they'd have to just wind through, there's another ramp, they wind into the lobby, and then could get to recreation, offices, and then up the ramp to the A-wing. So it's a little convoluted, but it's all accessible. So that's, you know, a little discomfort for at least a couple of months for them before that back entrance is reconfigured, which is for handicapped accessibility. The front entrance is available and accessible, it's just hard to park. So the side parking that they've always used on the grass is accessible should it, if it does snow anytime this winter, they would plow that for people, or not plow, you know, they would still be able to do that. And then there was a request at the PBC meeting that, that the pathway for walkers from First Parish, who can still sort of cut through between the Cudworth house and the fencing, the trailers, which you might have seen that are up there. They can walk there, but of course if it does snow, that would still need to be shoveled because it's the only walkable access to either the recreation entrance or the fields in the back of the tennis court. So they're taking care of that, and the contractors have been very
Linda,
agreeable.
is there a reason we're not letting the staff like park? We used to park like in the chute, you know, cause I noticed the fencing is like more of, it stops like at the circle.
Mm-hmm.
But the chute is, they just have horses up, you know.
Right, they do horses up. Well,
Yeah,
I think because, well,
I mean, I know it's like.
they don't want anybody on
sections,
the,
like-
on the,
Yeah,
on the
I
front
just
side.
thought it'd be like for the staff and.
Maybe because it's not a throughway anymore, and that does
Right.
pose some problem for coming in, and then
getting help.
some difficulty
Yeah.
not getting out, depending on the number of cars who might try to park there. So I think it's just that. But I could be wrong, and it could be the police
Curious.
department who decided to do that. It wasn't initially the contractor.
Mhm.
It's not part of the fencing, you're right.
Right.
So the project sign is planned within the next 2 weeks. Funny how long a sign seems to take for them, but it's going, then we have to debate where. But anyway, it's just going flat in front of the fence to the, if you're looking at the building, to the right side of the old entrance, the old driveway entrance.
So it'll be facing First Parish.
Facing First Parish, flat against there. And lastly, which is not my report, but they do wanna schedule a I guess the selectmen presumably wanna schedule a groundbreaking ceremony, which sometimes is low-key, and I guess they did one for the fields, but I didn't know about it, and so some people might have been, were you there from the school
Oh, yeah.
committee?
I had
All
a
right.
golden shovel.
We can
So-
go to the library.
Do we keep those? You might wanna read
They're
them.
gonna save them for the.
So we do wanna encourage it, but
Yeah.
actually, we haven't set a date because we thought we'd see what you all thought. I mean, I guess we can say that according to the schedule, if they start the tear down next week, you know, that's a couple of weeks into March. I don't know if we wanna have them clean it up or whatever, so we're really looking at early to mid-March,
Yeah.
for this possibility before they dig the foundation, or maybe just when they start to dig the foundation, hard to
Yep.
say. So, we sort of have a month's latitude, I would think, because they are talking about digging the foundation and starting the framing. I mean, it moves pretty quickly at that point if the weather continues to cooperate. So, that's lucky, that's been lucky. So, and it also has to happen after 3:30 because the contractor's there until that time.
Yep.
So, I mentioned that to Karen when she said she couldn't come tonight, that was something. I wanted to ask her about what the process was for getting their input, how we would go about setting a date for them. So she said to get a couple of dates from the board. If anybody has, you know, ideas or limitations that they wanna try to work around. But, it would probably be a 4 o'clock time.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Sure.
Sometime Monday through Friday, not on the
So it would
weekend,
be,
because it'll
you
be
know,
closed up.
Us, who wants to be there, you know, well, interested parties, the board of selectmen, that we'll have to take the date to the town administrator, make sure, some shovels, some dirt, and,
Photo
that's
It
it.
doesn't.
Photo.
Again, I don't know, for instance, if we invite Patrick O'Connor,
Mm.
which I think maybe, and Patrick Kearney, who I'm not sure is available right now anyway, 'cause he's, sent somewhere.
Yep,
So,
yeah.
so we can talk about that now or later, or just, I don't know, look at a calendar, I mean, our board meeting.
What about doing it March 17th?
March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. Because everybody's Irish in Scituate.
That's right.
Yeah, but I don't, you know, that's funny, somebody said we could, actually, maybe we could do it on the day of the parade, which is a Sunday, so. That's an idea. Anybody else have others? That's a Tuesday, I think.
I mean, I think it's really just making an invite list, taking a look at the calendar, swinging by to catch up with Jim Boudreau and
Mhm.
get
All
some
right.
feedback, and then.
And we
just
want
put-
it to be lighter.
So,
Yeah,
You
I
know
mean,
what
so we got daylight at least until 5:15 these days, so.
so 4 o'clock, I mean, it's
Another
really a
month should be fine.
30-minute,
Yeah.
30-minute couple of.
The time just moved forward.
A microphone, cable TV,
I had
The Mariner?
what is
Daylight
it?
savings starts March
Oh,
8th.
Okay,
that's
so we'll get another
Any
hour.
date, so you have an extra
Yeah.
half time
Yeah.
after that.
Yeah.
Wow.
You get another hour.
Yeah. As Pat said, Mariner and all that jazz.
Right.
Nice, okay. Sounds good. Lastly, so age-friendly steering committee, we still have not met, but as I sent everyone the email, that just happened to have that survey link, so thank you for taking a look at it. I didn't ask the town yet to email it, but I am going to tomorrow, so much like Janice's, school committee survey, so it'll be the same thing, it's small, it's short enough. I did add, based on somebody's response to me. I ended up adding the domains to a 5th question on the survey, so it didn't really add a lot. They could choose as many of the domains: housing, transportation, buildings, Caitlin, buildings, social connectivity, anyway, you know them all, you've seen them all, you could go back in. And actually, people were a little concerned, what if someone took it a second time? I don't think we really care. If they had something else to add, we'll take it. This is really just
Not a-
informational.
Right.
We sort of know what we've already looked at and talked about and thought about, but making sure we hear from everybody in terms of if they had suggestions for improvements, if they could tell us what they think is done well. And I will mention with Kathy here, and I'd already told her, that I was at the farmer's market last Saturday for 3.5 hours. And it was nice. People were actually very receptive if I happened to lasso them, if they lived in Scituate, I asked them.
Nice crowd, too.
It was a nice
Very
crowd. Most
steady.
people were willing, if they didn't fill it out that minute, then they took it. And I actually got one back in the mail. But it was valuable. But anyway, when asked, name 1 to 3 things that the town does well for its older people right now, and it was transportation. And I mean, like 4 cards in a row that day said transportation. So, we do have a law, if they think about it in the traditional sense, we do provide a good amount of transportation, which we can still talk about. The sloop is an asset, and that's nice. We didn't always have that, but I think people appreciate that. And we've always said before, it's either the older adults or the younger kids before they can drive. That's almost it takes it, but,
So is this survey something you want to hear from people that attend activities here?
it's not necessarily just about us, it's
We
the
just wanna
town
hear
of
from people.
Scituate in all ages, frankly. so.
Because you send out emails and texts sometimes to remind us that something's
Broadcast
happening.
voice,
And
yeah.
you put out a thing about what's
Yeah.
latest.
Yeah.
Could you do that? Send it to everybody that's on your email list?
I am going to do that,
Great.
yes.
Awesome.
So it's been a postcard, and actually I have a little setup over there on the table if anyone wanted to see it. And most everybody had, and I apologize if you haven't just seen the physical postcard of 4 questions. That's all it's been, just a real quick. But now it's 5 questions online with the Survey Monkey. So yes, I am going to send it out by email, and I am going to ask the town to send it out as well. And maybe post it on Facebook through our Facebook page. That's what I thought. Okay, so that, and then I haven't scheduled, if anybody has any input, I thought I'd schedule a couple of focus groups for one in March, one in April, to talk a bit about that, wrap it up a little bit, let people take the survey who may not have, and also use the opportunity to talk a little bit about branding for the senior center and what some opinions of that might be. So that is my thought. Maybe a morning 1 month and an afternoon the other month. Again, and that's a little bit more for people who we know, since that's the information I can sort of provide to the committee. And then we've talked about the committee members going to other places that they have access to and can gather information from. And again, it's any age, any age. I know I did encounter at the farmer's market some young people who were willing to do that. And they did. So, that is my report, short of expounding on the transportation
Why
stuff.
don't we go to Kathy, and we can come back to outreach or
Okay.
activities.
So, yes, you have Kathy's report on transportation. I don't know why, I have it. But, hey Kathy.
All right, well, the numbers in December and January are fairly consistent, and I compared them with numbers last year, and they do seem to drop off. November, December, January, pick up a little bit in February and March, and then kind of go back to normal after that. We have been looking at a lot of information with this issue with the Social Community Action Council.
Yeah.
It's caused us to look at things. And we've lost about 25 rides a month fairly consistently by attrition. People have moved out of town, they're no longer able to independently utilize our transportation services. They've gone with God, but we've lost about 25 rides a month through attrition.
Once a month, or is it over like December last year to December this year?
I looked at month to month from last year to this year,
Okay.
and it was about 25. So, again, the big issue, which I guess we're gonna talk about a little bit later, is the rate increases with the, Social Community Action Council. I think it caused additional stress on the budget because we found out about the increases, pretty much without notice in November. And we were already 5 months into our fiscal year, our budget's already been established,
All of a sudden,
so what do we do?
Right.
So we're looking at alternative, methods of transportation. Our drivers, once again, have been phenomenal. Today we did our first Boston out-of-town medical ride. We actually had all 3 vans on the road today, which is something that we're working towards. But the drivers have been phenomenal in taking on these out-of-town medical rides to Boston today, a lot of rides to Weymouth, Plymouth, and it's a considerable net savings, especially given these new increases.
So we were already considering that when the rides,
Yeah.
which have been $21 each way without mileage, that's been the cost.
Right.
And we still wanted to save a little money.
But December and January, that same $21 ride is now costing us $58.07. The ride fees have doubled, tripled, and in some cases quadrupled.
So in talking and complaining a bit about how impossible that would be for us to continue the rides the way we've done them, and he said, well, we got leave to be able to give you a sliding scale. So we'll do this for 3 months, and then we'll do something else for 3 months, and then by the July, you'll be up to this $58 a ride, or $40.55 plus $2.20 a mile.
$1.46.
Oh, $1.46 a
It's
mile.
$2.20 now.
$2.20 now. So anyway, when you end up looking at that, and on top of that, the Boston rides, they've decided to put a flat rate of $150 each way. So it's not mileage.
It used to cost $46 each way.
Oh my God, that's triple.
92, right, for a round trip ride, and now it's
Now,
300.
they're trying to recoup losses that they feel they've suffered through,
So
for
those are
us,
our
basically.
expenses.
Yeah, so basically, they've been giving us transportation, they think, you know, they pay their
Receiving whatever
drivers, they
those-
maintain their
It's our
vehicles.
revenue on
What's our revenue
those, yeah.
that we collect from the
Right.
clients? About, what do we decide, almost 300,
Well,
3?
It varies. We ask for $10 a round trip. We ask for $5 a ride, or $10 a round trip. And that's a little arbitrary because it used to be just a discretionary donation.
So we might
So-
receive $60 and we're being charged 300.
If that were the, if
We
that were the
collect-
ride.
We collect about $280, $290 a month for our out-of-town rides, a month,
And the cost is
and the cost
It's
is.
300 a day.
thousands. So, I mean, as you know, we have a $100,000 budget from GATRA, and so it has worked. It has worked. It hasn't worked apparently for Social Community Action Council. They
Yeah.
say now, but it's been since 2002 that the original agreement was made with the town administrator and Social Community Action Council. And then in 2013, they increased the rates slightly, made a slight adjustment. And since then, we really, I didn't start till the end of 2013, 2014. So really, I just knew what I was told we were doing through the previous transportation coordinator. So they've been losing money, and now they're recouping it. Mhm.
Don't have, where do their resources come from? Isn't it government funded?
They get a lot of funding from the federal government
That's what I
through
was
the
told.
We've been
Mass
researching
DOT.
this. Yeah.
They get considerable
Yeah.
funds,
Yes, I
Well,
was
and
told
And they
that.
say not
more than a
state,
couple $100,000
Mhm.
a year. Yep.
they've had
In
federal
the
money.
form of vehicles and
Mhm.
they get a
So-
lot.
Are those rate increases only for Scituate?
No,
It's for
no,
their whole.
they're not just for Scituate, but Scituate apparently has been very unique in what we have received for service from them or through them. So, nobody else seems to do what we do, and no one has used them that way. So it was a little bit of a favor they're sort of indicating now, originally. I don't know who knew who, this is what they're saying, that was kind of a, and why that should continue that way. So, on our end, and I did bring it up to Jim Boudreau, just because if we're looking at this, are we gonna change our paradigm? In other words, it's not been free, but it's been close to it. And we already knew we really weren't making a distinction between what someone could easily pay and who maybe could not easily pay and really needed this ride. And we knew we were gonna look at that, but just hadn't yet. Now, we either need to do that. What do we want to be? How do we wanna give transportation, which apparently people do appreciate.
Apparently they do.
You know, and with good reason, but, you know, so there are other models out there, none as, you know, financially lucrative for the consumer necessarily, but we'll see, you know, and maybe we have to do an intake.
I think it's a good question. Does the community centers for council have other programming that they could sort of like?
Yes, I believe they.
Well, they do fuel assistance, for instance, that's where the fuel assistance goes through, so they do have other programs. And they do, food distribution,
Yeah, so I'm wondering, they're hitting.
so they do a lot. 2 years ago, you might remember at town meeting, there was a citizen's petition asking for some additional funding for them, and it was a vote. And
Didn't the guy from South?
he did speak,
spoke.
he did
He
speak.
was asking for it.
That was a surprise to me that time, because it was just kind of interesting that we hadn't heard about that, but it's a citizen's petition. And I think the Board of Selectmen was either split, or if I remember right, John Danahy had spoken, and he wasn't in favor of it, but it passed. So there is another one now, not for as much money.
Well, it was voted down at town meeting.
It, oh, I thought it was voted for 2 years.
The
Yeah.
South Shore Community Action, it was in the auditorium, that one.
It
He
was.
speaking,
It was.
and they just were asking for like
A
money.
little more money.
They paid them 10,000 in
Yeah.
April of 2018.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, all right, I thought it was.
It did pass, I'm
Oh,
pretty
okay.
sure it did pass. So, it was to go before the Board of Selectmen last week, and that didn't happen time-wise or something, so I guess it's the next Board of Selectmen meeting, and that's just, I mean, it's gonna be on the warrant either way. It's just them to hear what the reasons might be that it's going on the warrant as a citizen petition, and whether or not they would support it. So I think that's all that happens at the Board of Selectmen meeting, but it is coming up again for 5,000, I think. It's just, you know, people should know what we pay
Yeah.
them. And I mean, you know, Kathy's done quite a lot of number crunching for me in terms of, you know, what we get in and what goes out. What was going out for 2019, which I am putting in the letter to the woman who's upset about that, but frankly, that was a red flag for Community Action Council. I think we figured out, not that it matters, but it's been $25,000 over the course of 7 years that one client's ride has cost us. And even in 2019, one client garnered 10% of the $100,000 budget. So if you look at it that way, you know, it's not that we want to withhold a ride that someone needs, but the regular rides that are that, and to back up a minute, so we could have this person picked up at 6 a.m. because the operating hours are 6 to 6. But she wants to be there at 5:30. Well, we can't get her there at 5:30. They were willing to compromise a little bit, and maybe could get her at 5:30. They would get her there by 6, but she wasn't happy with that accommodation. She wanted to be there plenty of time. But then they were proposing a $50 surcharge to the rate, which we've now told you is 58 each way, plus another 50. So,
So
we
what are the
wouldn't do
options,
that.
what are the options that you're considering about, you know, like, given the situation, what are?
We've been putting together a list. Kathy
We
could
are
go over some of
looking
those
at
things.
transportation options that include our drivers doing more out-of-town medical rides at a considerably less expensive rate.
Which may mean more drivers.
Hopefully
and a
more
van.
drivers. And a grant we're looking at to replace the blue van, because it's,
Which we now have $20,000 we could put towards
right.
that.
We
so.
would be paying, our contribution would be a 20% match. It would be about $14,000, maybe $15,000. But I'm on the list of contact information. It doesn't come up for application until April or May. I think the applications have to be in by June and make a decision in September, but it's community transit grant through Mass DOT. So that's something we really need to look at, especially
So
given this
build
most
more,
recent
build more
donation.
capability here.
Yeah,
Right.
and have more confidence in going out of town into Boston with
Yeah,
a vehicle other than the blue van.
yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah,
blue
right.
van went to Braintree today
Made it?
with Jim. Joe took the new Gatra van to Boston. because we have a high level of confidence in that, not breaking down. So we're trying to take care of the blue van as best we can, it's just, you know, it's getting old, and the, what, 68,000 miles or so it has on it are hard miles. They're local miles, not a lot of them are highway miles. So, when we only had one Gecko van, we used to use that as our backup around town. But use of volunteer drivers, if people have mass help, they can, if they have a certain kind of mass help, they can get transportation with their PT1, it's like a prescription for a ride. So that's an option, if they have the right kind of mass help.
Okay.
South Shore Hospital has a courtesy van that operates in Scituate on Tuesdays and Thursdays. If they go to the hospital or their Dana Farm, a couple of their off-site, you know, locations.
Yeah, which
The
is
Ameri-
right off the campus, basically.
Yeah.
Right.
Right,
That's-
not to any particular
that's-
doctor, but to a South Shore
Yeah.
Hospital
Yeah,
facility.
yeah,
That's a good
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah, American Cancer Society has volunteer drivers. The MBTA, the ride, they can't get it from their home in Scituate, but if we could get them to, whether it means at Shaw's or I think it means at Overshawn now, then they could take the ride.
Sure, it's in contact.
Right, is it Shaw? Yeah. But they would have to get medically qualified, this process, you know, that's not for everybody. The ACTRA has a Boston bus that on Tuesdays and Thursdays goes to Boston, and on Wednesdays go to Weymouth. That would be a self-drive down to the Stop and Shop Plaza in Pembroke. It leaves from there at 8:30, and it leaves Boston or Weymouth at 3 o'clock. So, or you have to be ready to leave.
So none of these are really like ideal.
No, they're not ideal, but
But there are options.
But
And
it
we
was
always liked the
But
fact
in
that,
combination with bulking up our ability to provide.
Right, none of them are gonna be the be-all and all,
No.
but a series of solutions
help.
might
if
help.
you can chip away one or
Yeah.
two here, one or
Yeah.
two there, the Veterans Administration.
Yeah.
we could
um,
limit a little bit of where we go, which we find other towns do. They say they go to certain towns and they do it on certain
Yeah.
days, and that's what they do. It's not like just wherever you wanna go.
We looked at the neighboring communities as part of this, town by town, and I gotta tell you, I'm really happy I'm a Scituate resident and a senior in Scituate, because I gotta say, and I inherited this, it's not because of me. I inherited this whole transportation service thing, but we have the best, most comprehensive transportation services of any of the neighboring towns. Yeah, I mean, it is, it's crazy how much more we do than the other towns. Now we just gotta figure out a way to pay for it.
So,
Okay.
that will
So-
be what we're working on, but,
Okay.
so anyway, so you're filled in, and, you know, any fallout if we get, I don't know if JP's heard from anyone, or any of you have about complaints.
No, it's not.
All right,
Yeah, but,
I'm very lucky to have Kathy here.
Kathy, anything
To
else?
like numbers, which is just
I
what
think that's
we need.
enough.
Okay.
Shop hops are going great, people are happy.
Okay.
Yep.
I think that's it.
Supermarket shopping is big.
Supermarket shopping is big.
So in addition, you got reports from Lisa for activities and volunteering. The Art for the Mind, which I actually didn't get to see yesterday, but we had 50 chairs set up. Did anybody come?
Yeah, I did.
Because I was sorry to miss it. It was
Looked at
filmed.
like 70.
So we're busting up the seams, so very quickly, of course, it's new and it's very well done and it's
Well
just
done.
wonderful.
She's a gift.
She is a gifter, she's great, we're lucky to find her. So that's quickly become one of our most popular programs, which is great. But everything really is, people who come to the activities they come to are very happy with what we do, I believe. And we hear that a lot, so I think we're grateful for that, of course. In addition, volunteering, I mean, we are using front desk volunteers, of course, that's something that we continue to need, and kitchen help here and there, because we do have Maureen Dinsmore now really owning the kitchen. But we are starting, of course, to talk to the architect further, so sometime in March, and I guess Judy will bring that up with subcommittees, but we've already talked about some materials and things that have already been selected, but there's still furnishing and some other ideas that will need to be placed with the architect. So part of their contract is actually to furnish. So when I get calls, which I have had from WB Mason and other places that maybe know that we're building and want to see if they can provide what we need, we really are going through the architect for that. It doesn't mean I couldn't say, you know, I like the stuff that WB Mason has. But we'll see, so we'll try to get the input from people that wanna take part in that, when it comes around to that. And I guess it's never too early, since I just asked that question, of the contractors, like when, I'm getting called, when can we start to talk about that? And March is not too early. So, and then also for outreach again, so, you know, Jen's been busy, she gets a lot of drop-ins. I hope she's here in her office for when they need to. I think she's, mentioned having done a lot of the fuel assistance, what it looks like from over here. Yeah, 9. But it's easier if people are, if they're doing it for a second or third time. They do not have to sort of complete the application anew each time. It's just automated now, so the information's already there and they just resubmit. So it's become much easier for her or for them as well. But her interactions, I guess, are very consistent. And in this case, it was 35 seniors for the month, and that's pretty consistent as well. So those are the reports.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, comments on all that information? Okay, then if that is not the case, I'm gonna hop to some of our liaison reports, and most of our liaisons are not here, or a couple of them are at least, so I'm gonna go quickly with, I saw Joan Powers last night. Basically, the reason she's not here is because Social Elder Services didn't have a meeting last month, so she didn't have anything to report to us on Social Elder Services.
Took the night off.
She made me promise that I would review the menu for the community dinner at St. Luke's Church, right here on First Parish, which is this Sunday. This Sunday? No.
February
A week
23rd.
from this Sunday, the 23rd, from 5 until 6, and the menu is chicken terrazzini, mixed vegetables, salads and rolls, and cherry pie for dessert. So, anyone in the community is welcome to St. Luke's for community dinner on February 23rd.
We did talk about doing that with the age-friendly service.
Yeah.
Talk about that again.
Is that cherry pie because it's gonna be George Washington? Is that right?
Oh,
I
it must be.
I didn't get involved in setting the menu.
I'll
so
betcha.
I
Why is
have
it the
no idea.
Rotary Club?
No,
No,
This
no,
is-
no, we're
that's-
not gonna
this
do
is
ours
St.
until
Luke's, yeah.
October next year, or this year.
St. Luke's.
Oh, would you go to St. Luke?
Nope.
Is anybody here?
Go to what?
St. Luke.
So Karen Canfield is not feeling well tonight, and she did pass along some information to me just to sort of review very quickly, so as her Board of Selectmen report. If those of you who do not know, and Linda mentioned earlier, the Veterans Advisory Council is gonna be doing something here on the 26th, but the Board of Selectmen has approved, and it was an initiative from the Veterans Advisory Council to designate Scituate as a Purple Heart community, which means that we have veterans or families who have earned a Purple Heart, and that will entail, among other things, we will be able to put up signs on roads coming into town that will say Scituate is Purple Heart community. So, I knew this from the Veterans Advisory Council, but the Board of Selectmen has approved all that, so signs we put up on entrance roads coming to Scituate, I believe 3A coming north and south, and 123 coming over from Norwell, and I think that's it, but I know the Veterans Advisory Council is very pleased about that. The athletic field construction, and I haven't been back there personally, but according to Karen, on a report, it's coming along on schedule. There is planned to be heavy equipment back in there in February to work on the field. The Public Building Commission was approached to address some concerns about protecting some of the property on the Gates campus, I wanna say that basically the contractor, the general contractor was sort of on top of that anyways, in terms of protecting trees.
Oh, yes, there was some
Um,
concern about a tree that falls outside of the actual construction work.
So
and they are
the trees
going
will
to-
actually be cordoned off and braced,
That's-
just in case any machinery, comes by and hits. So, and there will be weekly construction updates posted on the town website, so if anybody wants to get updated on the construction information, over on the campus, they can go there. Again, per Karen, they're working on a master plan for the town under the supervision of the planning board. And we are, I guess, looking for candidates for director of planning and development. But it seems, based on this note, that there maybe are some candidates who have surfaced. The next public session will be in March. The Board of Selectmen has agreed to start negotiations and investigations into allowing the Scituate Food Pantry to occupy some of the old Gates cafeteria. There are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. This, to my understanding, is an idea that's being bounced around, but no decisions have been made formally on it.
They did present to the Board of Selectmen at the last Selectmen's meeting, the food pantry did.
Yep.
And I think Jim might have shared, his own report on that.
Yep. And so there's issues issues on parking, on what impact it would have on the senior center construction and/or the senior center itself, the cost of preparing the space for occupancy, and also simply the fact that if we're committing to use that building for that purpose, that commits us to using the building. Do we want to use the building?
Well,
Right.
the
So-
suggestion, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but, and I did bring that to Jim, and he personally felt, I think, that even if they were only there for the year, or a year, that was a year they needed to be somewhere else, and it would be okay if they moved again. I think the Board of Selectmen were not convinced of that as yet, and maybe short-sighted, so that's part of their discussion.
I was there, and they, any costs related to prepping it for their use, they said they would pay. It would be, and they realized that at some point they would have to, if they were in there, they would have to.
So they're finding out space still there?
Well, they would
Pardon?
use like the caf downstairs,
cafeteria.
but it's filled with equipment, I think, it's like
I
filled.
don't know
Well,
what
it's
to-
all, that all,
Yeah,
that's
it's-
all going,
Yeah.
that's from the auction, I mean, they can clear that, they plan to clear it. I mean, I have my own concerns, which you may, just as a tenant and as, as an entity that's been working with the planning board for as long as we have on, is there sufficient parking? Is the access and egress even safe
Right.
as it is? And we had to do an awful lot of work and had our feet held to the fire. I don't know that there's really
And
the
it's
same
been empty
accommodation.
for a long time.
Right.
So,
Weeks.
again, the town administrator felt that during construction, it wouldn't be an issue because they would use the back. Once, if they were to stay while we were there, his feeling is that we would just need to coordinate, which, again, I don't know if everyone has an awareness of all of the things we would need to coordinate.
Yeah.
And it's not just once a month, it is twice a week for the food pantry. So, I did bring that up to Karen, that I hoped the
It is-
Council on Aging would have an opportunity to hear about what else was being
Yeah, they
considered.
said it was once a month. So it's,
It's
that's how they
twice a week.
present.
Yeah.
Tuesday
It's
mornings
twice a
and
week.
Thursday
It's twice a week,
afternoons.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know where that,
I
I
thought
heard
they
someone
said
else
they-
say that, and I said, I'm scratching my head, thinking I'm not wrong.
I thought I heard once a month, that what they presented was like once a month.
So, well, maybe they were willing to
It's
change.
twice a week.
Yeah,
Yes, twice a week.
And
but
then
that's, I
other
believe
times,
you,
there
but
are
the
other
thing,
times that they're there too. That
Right.
parking lot is full.
It
Yeah,
is
over-
full.
over
I
the summer,
mentioned that
yeah,
as well, it is.
yeah,
Twice
So-
a week is when they're open to the public.
yeah.
And of course,
But they've got
that's,
a
I don't
load-
think that's what I heard.
load and unload on
That's
other
what I'm saying,
times.
and
and Karen also mentioned that the discussion gave them the impression that the proximity to the senior center would be mutually beneficial for a lot of pantry clients. We help some people get there, we bring some people there, the GATRA sloop brings some people there, but, I don't know that that's altogether true. Again, we could have the food pantry talk to us as well, but I was hoping we'd at least be included in that discussion and they could get some opinion. So she did mention if there were minutes, if there were points made tonight, you know, they could include those when they have their own discussion. So if anybody does have some thoughts on that, please feel free to share. I mean,
No, guess
we
it
love the
depend-
food
it
pantry, they
depend-
do
right,
great
it-
work.
It just
I mean,
depends
no.
on the condition of the building,
Yeah.
what's in there, what needs to be done. I mean, that's up to Jim.
And logistically,
Kevin.
suddenly it feels like there's an awful
Right.
lot going on.
Well, and if
Right.
they're gonna do all that to move in there, are they really gonna move, is it likely that they would move? They, you know, I mean,
They give the impression
I mean, if they do,
If they're squatters, are you gonna get them out there?
well, just that seems like a
Well,
lot
I
of work
think,
to
I
do
think
for a
what they
temporary
were,
location.
right, well, I
Right.
think they were saying that they've outgrown
Yeah,
where they
they've
are now,
outgrown it.
really outgrown it.
Right.
And at least, even if it was just temporary, it would just be better than where they are now.
And honestly, even if something was decided today for the use of that building, that's not a year from now, that's
Right, they,
3
yeah,
years
they
from
give them
now,
at least
or
a
2
year,
years, you know.
But I think the biggest issue is parking.
It is,
Yeah,
I mean,
Correct.
I believe so too. So we're hoping to grow and develop and we will use that parking lot.
they would have to park it behind.
Ways
the
away.
building.
But, and then not to be completely selfish, but we have 4 vans that, again, we didn't want necessarily taking up our 70 spaces, which I just assumed because, well, nothing else was going on there, that
And
we
are there
would be
other
able to do
locations
that.
that they're considering?
I think they really looked at it and they really can't find much.
So I think I heard it was suggested that night that, what about here, when we leave?
Oh,
that-
yeah.
That
yeah.
is in a year's time, it's not now, obviously.
Right.
And it's not clear what they would do with this building anyway, I mean, there was
Not a bad
discussion
idea.
to sell it, so it's.
Where are you
Is the
gonna park?
parking any better, dear?
No.
If the Masonic location is filled,
The parking,
Right.
Yeah.
Village Market.
there's no parking here.
So it was just
Village
floated,
Market.
you know, it was just floated, because this exists.
And then Schleck groceries over there?
Well, the Harbor Building?
Well, they have, they need like storage space.
Yeah.
Yeah, they need
Yeah.
big refrigerators,
Yeah,
big
yeah.
freezers.
I mean, I'm sure that's been, you know, and the
That's why they like the
WPA,
cafeteria and gates,
Yeah,
that's all
that's
that
where it got
refrigeration
that.
stuff.
And that's why they've outgrown where they are now, is because they need more freezer space
Yeah.
and storage space for
And
food.
storage.
They'd have to do a little parking.
you know, there's no doubt if that's what people felt was, you know, the best thing to do, there would be coordination, and there would be meetings, and there would be discussion. But, I think some numbers would be good to have, you know, in terms of what their
Yeah.
daily,
yeah.
when they're open.
Well, if they have their
What's
own
their
space,
traffic
maybe
flow?
they could spread out when people could come,
Mhm.
then it would be a problem.
That's true. Be more, open more often.
Right,
Even
right.
up, there wouldn't be a big crowd.
Assign people, say you know, assign people days to
Assign
pick up
people a
food.
time frame to come,
Right,
not just people.
manage the traffic.
Right.
Okay.
Last on Karen's list, she just wanted to mention that the water study, a water study was presented to the Board of Selectmen at the last meeting. It shows that we have supply for current and projected growth, but needs serious investment in the delivery system in our pipes. Most pressing is a new water treatment plant, which would cost approximately $40 million. But the quality is greatly improved since measures to remove brown water contributors have taken place. The next test will be July 3rd. So that's sort of our liaison report from Board of Selectmen. If anybody's got any questions, fire away, but I don't know if I've got any answers. So, maybe move on to Elaine Foss.
As I mentioned in the last month's report, we're not, we haven't been meeting for January or February. We're gonna pick up again in March, but, we, have, due to unforeseen circumstances, canceled our scheduled spaghetti dinner,
Oh,
so that will not be happening.
that was in April, right? April
Yeah, it was
18th.
supposed to be in April 18th or something like that, but it will not be happening.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. No, I canceled the big event for the Rotary on April 18th.
Because of that?
I had the band, I had everything.
Oh dear, I'm sorry. This just, was announced today, so it wasn't,
So you canceled because there was a conflict?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And you both canceled?
And,
I canceled because of
Yeah,
the
wow.
day.
No, it's canceled.
Okay.
can you get yours going again?
I don't
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Any reason why?
I don't know any reasons, yeah, it was
Okay, that's okay.
unforeseen circumstances. So other than that, we have not been, other than working with the Build a Campus and fundraising activities that are going on, Boss itself has not been doing much.
Okay.
Start back up in early March.
Okay. Perfect segue to Community Campus Capital Committee.
Calendars, have kind of, interest has kind of tapered off. Most of the businesses that we had calendars in either sold them all, or Jerry and I have kind of gone around and withdrawn them if they didn't feel like they wanted to keep them there. But we've sold just under 500 of the 1,000 calendars. I was hoping we would probably be around 750.
Yeah.
We may get there, but I got a phone call tonight before I came here. Someone said, we're gonna get a calendar. So, there's still a few out there that will be sold. So we'll have some on hand. Our big event that we're planning on is the prom, the junior senior prom, April 26th at the River Club. We'll have live music, the Doc Ellis Band and the Brown Brothers. So we're hoping to see all of you there, along with your spouses, significant others, family, friends. We're hoping to put at least 200 people in that room that night. We'll have a few ideas about what we can do to raise funds that night. And we'll have a couple auction items, and we're working on those now. So, you know, we've done pretty good. We've got $31,000 in the bank. We've had 3, what I would call, very significant donations that were made. A couple of them were through the required minimum distribution for people 70 and a half and older. And I hope we'll get a few more of those this year. So we probably are going to net somewhere around $7,000 or $8,000 when we get done with our calendar sales. In terms of our expenses are about $4,000 to print them up. So we're doing okay. But I think what we're going to do, we've decided we'll offer everyone who comes to the prom a calendar if they don't have one already. If they have one, we'll give them another one.
Yeah.
And there'll be a number of people there who will be there to autograph calendars. And that was a big hit when we did that at the Christmas fair at St. Mary's. And people who were in the calendar still here, and they were running to people around town saying, yeah, I need to get my calendar signed, so.
So I did have them at the farmer's market the other day, and I did sell one, and then the other thing, someone else was picking it up, and I thought they wanted to buy it. I said, no, I just want you to tell me who these guys are.
You guys could be on the float for the St. Patrick's Day parade.
Yeah.
Throw calendars.
Yeah.
Fully clothed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same pose.
I talked to Linda, we can
Or
talk
sell them
about
for
some
half
ideas. maybe.
price.
Okay, they could do that.
That's a great idea.
And the more the merrier.
So that's, and then Pauline Souther, I don't know if we can do this or not, but, you know, bricks are popular when there are buildings, municipal buildings being done. So Pauline went ahead and got some information on this and had one sent. And then I talked to the people a couple of days ago. Bricks are $20 a piece, and they recommend that they be sold for between $50 and $75. Now, I know this would have to go through building commission probably, and there'd be a process by which you have to see whether this fits in the budget.
Well, yeah, so if it was like the brick patio, I mean, I don't know that we assigned brick to the patio, it could have been something else that
Right.
wasn't as expensive, but then we were thinking maybe a walkway beyond, so that would still be part of the
Yeah.
town. Outside of the
Yeah.
construction
Yeah.
budget, that would be
Right.
something additional, so.
Yeah, so this is probably down the road a little bit, but it's another idea that we've been kind of kicking around, so that's kind of where we're at. The other big thing is the next item that we'll talk about, whether JD wants me to get on that subject.
You're on it.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
You're on it.
I can
So-
put it up here.
So the really big fundraiser that will bring in significant dollars, and again, we've got 3 donors who've made significant contributions. I think they're waiting to hear what we can attach their contribution to in terms of a room or something like that. So you know, I was involved in the library foundation, when they were doing their naming opportunities, so it's a big deal. And there are people who will make a significant contribution, if they have the opportunity to name a room or something in terms of a memory of a family member or just something that they want to do. So,
Yep.
you know, I know when I scoured most of the senior centers throughout the South Shore a year and a half, 2 years ago, all of them had naming opportunities that were very evident in their buildings. And it was unusual to go through one and not see a plaque and nameplate outside of a room. You know, it could be a couple $100,000, you know, easily, I think. And this is kind of the breakdown. So my hope tonight is that, you know, we can get some direction with, you know, working with you guys, working with Linda, so we can get this going. Because our goal is at the April 26th junior senior prom to have a board listing the naming opportunities and what the dollar amounts are. We may get 1 or 2 people that night who will be willing to sign on. So, you know, it's gonna take time to put this together. And putting together, you know, a document like the Library Foundation did takes time.
And you
I
may
mean,
have in
and-
your folder the names of the rooms that we have, I think it was the October meeting that I've given that out if you have those, but.
So obviously
Yeah.
this has to go before, you know, you guys, the board, has to go before the board of selectmen to approve it before we can just start to market it. So, you know, time is very short, and I know it's tough to get on the board of selectmen's schedule, so, my hope is that, you know, we can, again, working with you all, put together a group, and, you know, it's not hard to come up with dollar values. There's no rhyme or reason why, it's really more how much you think you can get, and what people are likely to be looking forward to doing. And, you know, I think I made a list at some point, you know, I came up with like 27 or 28 naming opportunities. And, you know, some of them will be pricey, some of them will be in the 25, maybe even in a $50,000 to $75,000 range. The big subdividable room possibly could have a $50,000 price tag attached to each of the 2 sections. You know, I'm optimistic that there are people out there who will jump on this. I know there are. We've already gotten a few, and we need to get more. But whoever the committee is that decides to go out and do the marketing, if you want to call it marketing, you can't walk into somebody that you're expecting to get a $25,000 contribution from with a piece of paper. It's got to be something that's very well put together, that looks very professional, because if they're going to make a significant contribution, it's got to be a slick piece of information that you're handing them. And in talking to some of the people on the Library Foundation, you know, it's not necessarily something that's going to happen the first time you visit somebody. You may have to visit them on 2 or 3 occasions. They may have questions that they want answered. You know, so it's a process. But, you know, we've got the year to do it. And I think all of us on the Build the Campus have kind of agreed that come opening day at the new center, that's going to be it in terms of fundraising. This is not going to be a 3 or 4 year project like the library was. We just don't have the manpower to do it, and this is going to end next January or February. So we've got time to do it, but we don't have a lot of time to get the preparation and everything done to be able to go out and market it.
How many people signed up to name a room at the library?
Almost, well, every room at the library was taken.
Oh, there's a name.
All of these opportunities are pretty much taken.
Oh.
So if you can add up the numbers,
Plus
it's
there's a
probably
wall
in the area of
with
$200,000 to
names of
$300,000, $400,000.
Oh, where's that?
Wow.
Downstairs?
I don't know, it's in the front lobby of the library. It's-
And it's not just rooms.
Next to the
It's-
reception
it's-
desk.
There are furniture opportunities, there was
Okay.
a $10,000 if you want to have the elevator named after you or your family.
Yeah, they
You know,
made
there's-
even aisles.
Yeah,
Aisles
they
and
have
books were
stacks, yeah.
named for
Yeah.
people.
Bookshelves.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, but the,
Yeah,
the, I know I've kind of briefly discussed this over with Linda, and, how do you come up with these numbers? And, there was some thought, not on my part, but that maybe you're looking at what the building costs are. It's not really what the library did. They said, gee, the fireplace room, that's really kind of a neat room that somebody probably would pay $25,000 for. And within a day of them making this opportunity available, somebody signed on to the fireplace, which would be, I guess, our lounge. Hopefully, we want the fireplace. So, it's really more of an emotional attachment that people make. Like Denise and I, we took a study room. It's a tiny little room. You've probably seen the study rooms. I think you put 5 people in there at a table, it was $10,000. But, there were, I think, 5 or 6 of those, and they went like that.
It's a development question, it's the question about what people are willing to give, it's not about the building cost.
Exactly, no.
Yeah.
So, I think whoever the group is that decides this, could easily come up with these numbers. It's not agonizing to do it, it's not rocket science. But I just think we need to do it, and we need to get it done hopefully soon, so I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but, we'd like to be able to see this move and maybe get it in front of this board of selectmen at one of their early March meetings, so that we can then get material printed up and then start to get preparation for April 26th and even before that. So that's kind of where we're at with that project. That'll be our big project, that's gonna be a big one. So, and corporations came in play at the library. It wasn't just individuals, it was mostly individuals, but there was some corporate money that was involved. We have people in town. Les that did the survey?
Article in the
Oh, there's an article in the, might have been the Wall Street Globe recently. You know how many now, we're not targeting millionaires, but just to give, this is not, we're not probably Cohasset or Duxbury, but we're not a pauper town either. You know how many millionaires there are in Scituate?
No,
I'm sorry, people who earn a minimum of $1 million?
Earn an annual income of $1 million?
Yeah, how many?
In Scituate?
In Scituate? 90.
95.
95.
95 to 35.
Now, that means there might be some people earning $10 million
Right.
and $5 million, not just $1 million. So, we need to find some of those people.
Yeah.
I've got names of a few of them, and I think some of them will be willing to help out, so, what?
I'm just
So you
saying to
want-
myself,
are you-
how come I don't know any of these people?
Oh, I thought you were the
You
14th.
Wow.
No, so anyway, but
I think
anyway,
several of them are summer people.
what's that?
A lot of them are summer people.
Could be. Well, I think,
No, they're
No,
residents,
this was by
they're
residents.
active residents
Oh.
of the town.
yeah.
Well, we do have some nice, renderings of the rooms,
Yeah.
if that's what you need, and we
Yeah.
have a diagram of the interior layout, so you know what the
Yeah.
rooms are.
So, who, Linda, do you think should be in this?
Yeah, how do we
No, I think-
set up an action?
I think 6 to 8 people. I think you get bigger than that, and you have too many ideas floating around, but I think 6 to 8 people would be able to come up with this and do it in a relatively short period of time.
Come up with dollars?
Yeah? No, come up with
No, yeah.
come up with
Yeah,
the
that's
name,
it.
with the naming
Yeah,
opportunities.
yeah.
Yeah. And maybe lean on them for some dollars.
And what about the marketing materials? What about the?
The Library Foundation did
That
that.
that's the marketing. But who in fact did it? Like,
The Library Foundation
They
did it
did
themselves.
themselves.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Bob was going to say we would need, it's full of beautiful graphics.
Yeah.
We need something like that. It just explains everything from why they did what they did and what the benefit is going to be to the town, which is exactly our story.
Yep.
So, I would hope there would be a few people from the
Yeah.
council and Linda and a few people from Build the Campus, and we put together a meeting some night and bang it out and move forward.
When do you think you want to do that? Between now and mid-March? Because you know what, if we do have
So
the
we want-
groundbreaking ceremony and we're able to maybe talk about that,
Mhm.
I mean, it's a little PR and it's on cable, so just saying, that would be nice to sort of have, well,
Well, if we could have the meeting of the group before your next
Yes.
council on aging meeting,
Yeah,
and
that's-
and then bring that recommendation to the council on aging in March,
Mhm.
then we can start to really move
Mhm.
forward. So, your March meeting would be what, Linda, what would be the date?
No, not the 17th, it would be the,
The 12th.
it's early, it's the 12th, yeah,
12.
March.
March 12th.
And again, and maybe in anticipation of an acceptance, try to get on the Board of Selectmen, sometime after that, in March.
Before the groundbreaking.
If you
Yeah, that would be
can.
nice. if
So we
possible.
could talk about it at
Well,
the groundbreaking.
Well, and we can, even without the particulars, because I guess now I remember you wanted the poster for the gala,
Yeah,
so
Yeah.
maybe that's a little early March, but still, we can at least talk about it.
Well, so what we want everyone here to consider if they are interested in participating
Yeah.
and have some time to be able to do that. We've also got 4 or 5 people who are not here tonight, so we want to make sure we get them that information. So
mhm.
Send an email out.
would
for
be able to
like
be
four
easier
people.
for you and I to
What's a quorum?
author
Five?
an email and
So 4 or less.
blast it out to everybody?
The
and
first
see if we-
4 people,
And at least let people consider
That
what they
rule,
want to do.
because if it's a quorum, you have to post it again. So just email everybody in the first and focus on.
Yeah,
That
could,
would be nice.
I miss that.
could a group with 2 or 3 council aging members meet?
2,
without
yes, I
posting
think I'd
that?
have to
It'd be
think
like
about
less
what the
than a
magic
quorum.
number was, might be 3,
It-
it might be
Yeah,
less.
otherwise
It
we'll
used to
have a
be-
meeting.
Right,
Right.
yeah.
It was-
Otherwise, we have to post an agenda.
Two of them.
And more than 2 members cannot discuss what's going on.
I think 2 from the board.
That doesn't include the newest,
JP.
It may not
Associate
include this,
members.
yeah.
the associate members of count for.
No, because they're non-voters.
Right.
But really, we need a quorum even to meet, so it doesn't necessarily just be a vote. We'll check
So
on
are you looking for people that have maybe spent their career in advertising or that kind of thing? I mean, do you want to
Not-
target?
No, not for this particular thing that needs to get done in terms of developing the naming opportunity. But we would welcome anyone to join, our capital campaign effort if they have connections in corporate, that we might search out.
Well, whether they have connections or not, whether they want to knock on doors and talk.
Yeah.
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 So it doesn't, you don't need to be well connected necessarily, you just need to be
The other thing I failed to
willing and
mention is that,
enthusiastic to put in some time.
yeah, within the coming week, we're having posters printed, they can be 11 by 17, not 8 by 11, and scattered all around town, in businesses, announcing the junior senior prom. Leslie has pretty much come up with a final on that in the last day or so. We're looking at a printer to print those up. So we'll hopefully start to see, and we've got 2 signboards.
2 signboards, 2 foot by 3 foot on either side, big signs.
Yeah, that will move around town in various locations over the coming weeks to make people aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
But right, we've only been doing social media announcing to now, a lot of people aren't on social media. So we really need to reach out to the general residents and let them know what's going on. And we'll do I'm sure Ruth will do an article
Yep.
as well, and we'll probably end up maybe putting a couple of ads, if you will, in the Mariner between now and then.
Well, one of the, we have the Friends of Scituate Seniors Facebook page, we have the buildacampus.org page, but we also want to, can we do the Council on Aging as a place to pick up tickets? And I can give you tickets, and if somebody comes in to buy a ticket, you can sell them a ticket. Right here, I give you 20, would you like that? 20?
Probably need one.
There you go, Linda.
There you go. They're numbered 1 through 20. There you go. So, other people that are actually getting it on the websites, they're not actually being given a ticket. We're taking their names, we've got the information, and at the day that they show up for the gala, we'll have all that information right in front of us so that we'll just check them off the list as they come through the door. But there are other people, like with regards to having tickets, that will sell them too.
We had thought about having businesses around town sell them, but I know when we were going around with calendars, some people were hesitant
Yeah.
about just accepting money.
Yeah.
And they don't really want to get
Yeah.
involved in that, so
Yeah, these are
just,
expensive.
just having them do it online on PayPal or eVita or PayPal or
Yeah, it's
what they're doing,
PayPal.
or credit card.
Yeah.
You know, then we'll do a will call, get the ticket at the door. So that's it.
One quick thing about the artwork that's already been established for the senior center, is that electronically available somewhere?
What do you mean the artwork? You mean just the
Oh, well,
the
there's a
renderings
picture
of the
of the
rooms?
rendering of the outside of the building, but there's a picture of the inside the building,
Yeah.
and like
There's
the
a few,
lobby area.
I have them, I don't know if they're, they might be filed, but I mean, I have them.
Yeah,
Well,
if there's a
we
way,
could get them.
I don't know if they went on the website.
yeah, I don't know where they are, but it would be kinda nice for this committee that we're trying to set up, because just as we did a calendar, we can punch this baby out pretty quickly. We just need those types of files so we can start to populate these pages and then put story behind each of the things, and then we'll get underway.
Okay.
The one they put together a
Richard's
nice,
got that stuff.
a nice,
Oh,
they
okay.
had a nice brochure, which you, I think, produced this past year, talking about the center and
Oh,
what
yes.
happened here and the
I do look back.
opportunities and
Yeah.
what we propose for the future. So, yeah, we can get a lot of information like that.
Might have been for the public information session.
Okay, so thank you. Look
Well,
forward
thank
to all
you.
your- Your assistance and support.
Yeah.
So we want everybody to think about if they want to participate in that effort, and we'll put together, try to put together some kind of an email to shoot out to people.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a
I mean,
one-time.
to shoot out like to this group.
It may be a
And-
one-time meeting, or maybe two at most, and then a presentation to the board here in March. It's not gonna be a long, lengthy process.
Okay.
And if Linda wants to have Steve, or if Steve Kirby would want to be involved, more than happy to, you know, burn up his
I know,
time-
another
his
meeting,
time-
yeah.
his clock time, and, you know, ka-ching, ka-ching, you know, doing stuff like that, so.
Well, yeah, I think Rachel probably got our work that we could get from her to give to Jerry, so
Yeah.
that should be pretty easy to do. Anything the architect's got, we can probably get. There's been a zillion of them floating around, but some.
I know, we wanna make sure it's the accurate.
Yeah, it's the accurate one.
version.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, 'cause what was in here in the library information it was it.
Mhm.
Even though they're renditions, you walk in there, it looks just like this.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're at 8 o'clock. I want to probably put an end to this meeting, close this meeting, but I also want to, again, mention to the board, I sort of talked offline to everyone to think about areas of additional involvement in terms of sort of re-energizing what we had had maybe a year or so ago and up until recently, when we all got completely absorbed and distracted by a building issue. But to have subgroups or action groups or subcommittees, whatever you want to call them, from this group to zero in on certain areas that might be helpful to provide resources, ideas, brainstorming, et cetera, that doesn't happen at this meeting, because we can't do it all at this meeting, or these monthly meetings. So the areas that I thought might be applicable would be a building planning subcommittee that works with the campus committee, that works with the architect, that helps lay out furnishings, naming opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what we sort of talked about a little bit. A long-term advisory action group looking at what, these are just my notes, looking at things like how to, keep up to date with the board of selectmen, continuing to push forward on tax write-off programs, on grant opportunities, looking at the Comcast contract with the town to maybe try to make that a little bit better for seniors in town, things along those lines, live well Scituate. Number 3 would be events, marketing, advocacy, working with Linda to plan more, some specific events, working with Foss to make sure we're not in conflict with events, and things along those lines. So, build up the mailing database. I mean, again, these are just, gives Linda some help on constant contact. And then third or fourth was, looking at maybe developing and bringing to the table some ideas around programming for a new senior center. So I sent, again, sort of this is offline to people. I would welcome your input and or participation. I'd like to think about it, as well as what we just talked about with Gordon on the campus naming, naming rights committee, if you will, action group, and maybe begin to get some commitments over the next couple weeks and or next month in terms of where to go. These again will be self-initiated and self-driven. So, a subgroup will, your responsibility will be to then set up some time to meet as a group yourselves to figure out where to go. So, I mean, we can try to help, but it won't be happening at a board meeting. It'll be happening at another time, in another place, and a smaller group to try and brainstorm some ideas. So, I'd like you all to think about that, and think about, again, the naming committee.
You wanna hear from us, like, I got that list from you, but I think I just got it today.
Yep, yeah, that's why
So,
I'd love to hear from you.
Converse with you, okay.
Yeah, absolutely,
through,
absolutely.
texting. All right.
Yep, absolutely.
Or maybe that was email.
Yep.
It was email.
So, I don't have anything else on my agenda. Does anyone else have any issues, comments, old business, new business? And since it's pretty silent, after that question, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Our next meeting is March 12th. Yes, the week before,
The night of the.
the Thursday before the parade and the.
Oh, that is the Grand Marshal's dinner parade, which always happens to me.
The night before. It's the night before that?
No, it's the night of the
Oh,
Grand
the
Marshal's
night
dinner
of.
at the
The
Mill.
Thursday, the 12th, which is our board meeting, would be the Grand Marshal.
Yeah, so maybe we could switch it.
Why not?
Well, we try not to.
Do you have to do
but-
both?
Well,
I will.
we